Welcome to Love with Francesca, where we deep dive into relationships, self-love, and the empowering journey to authentic connection and healing. Today, we have Daydree. I am so happy to have you here. Thank you for agreeing to be on this.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
We connected months ago, and you so graciously waited months for me to actually coordinate this. So I am so excited to be here. I remember our first chat. I just left feeling like I don't know, someone had just like pumped energy into me and I was so excited and I was like, I can't wait to have another conversation with her. So I'm really excited about today. Um,
Yay, me too. Good.
yeah. So just for everyone who's listening to give a little bit of explanation of like why I wanted to chat with you today. So you are the owner of My Ocean? How do I pronounce that?
Oshun.
Ocean.
Mhm.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
You're a Reiki Master Teacher and Good Love Coach. You help clients create the ideal environment for personal transformation to occur where they can envision and manifest the love and life they truly desire with less anxiety, more self-awareness, and more calm. You are a certified coach and certified Reiki Master and teacher of, you're going to have to correct me on this, Usui Shiki Ryoho.
Perfection.
Close enough? Okay. With over 15 years of experience practicing Reiki, you're also a meditation expert trained in 5 different types of meditation. And you know what? I will agree with this. You are warm, enthusiastic, and you have a focused approach that helps singles and couples disarm fear, access their gold within, and become love magnets. And that is something we are going to talk about. Also, you and I just personally bonded because we both have Caribbean parents. You're from New York a little bit more than I am, but I like to think that I'm a bit of a New Yorker, just by being born there and having experiences growing up there. And I feel like, and now you're in California and you obviously have like this like bohemian part of you and identity that you've somehow blended in with all the other facets of who you are. And there was something that I was like, I know I'm only just meeting her, but I feel like we just click in a way. So I was like, clearly there's some like underlying cultural
Oh, yeah.
connections happening here.
Yeah. It's the joy of the Caribbean. It really
Yes.
is. Yeah, it's that ocean breeze flowing between us. It's great.
Right. So just to get started, I'm curious, like, how did you get into the work that you do? How did you decide to study Reiki and become a Reiki master and become certified in coaching? How did that all happen? And what made you want to
It
do
was,
that?
yeah, I was on a road trip
Hmm.
with my two girlfriends back in a long time ago. I'll just say, probably the 90s, early 2000s. And they had an old beat up car, and I was in the back seat. It wasn't an all-wheel drive. So we were doing a lot of switchbacks, heading to the Grand Canyon, my first time, and I got seasick or road sick or car sick, rather.
Mhm.
I got pretty car sick. It felt like I was seasick because I also get that way too. Anyway, the motion sickness got the best of me. My stomach was not doing well. My head was bumping, bumping, bumping. It just, oh my goodness. And I just thought, I don't know if I'm going to make it all the way through. And one of the girlfriends said, well, why don't we pull over? Let me give you Reiki. And I thought, okay, I don't know what that is, but give it to me.
When you're
Give me
desperate, you'll
something.
take anything.
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
And she laid her palm upon my head, upon my belly, and then right underneath the diaphragm. And I started to feel over time, probably about 10 to 15 minutes, all of the sickness, that car sick feeling went away. My head stopped hurting, my stomach stopped reeling, and I started to feel better. And it just kept getting better. And then we
Mhm.
were about at 25 minutes because we had our time to get to the Grand Canyon. There was no rush. And I started to feel really good. And then we continued on our journey and had a great time. And I asked her later what that was. Again, you said Reiki? And she said, yeah, I said Reiki. And okay. Then I didn't think anything more of it. Years later, I had a girlfriend doing some sort of collective around in Los Angeles. And she said, at the time, I was interested in energy centers and your chakras. And I thought that that was really interesting because being from Brooklyn, you don't really learn much about chakras and energy centers. I know where the bodega is and I know about the bodega cat, so I'm not really
Right.
interested in that other stuff. And there was a gal there who, well, my girlfriend said, "Why don't you bring your products?" Because I was making chakra pillows at the time, these
Mm,
sweet little pillows with a heart and crystal and a little message for each chakra inside of the heart pocket. So I thought that was pretty cute and I thought I would bring them. And she said, "Will
mhm,
you donate these?" Sure, no problem. And then there was another gal there and she said, "I'm a Reiki master." Oh, these are so interesting. Got one of my pillows, started chatting. Then she started talking about Reiki all over again. And I thought, okay, I remember this.
mhm,
And then she started speaking about Reiki in regard to our energy centers and what
mm,
that meant. And I started
mhm,
to realize how important our energy was over just our physical appearance and working out
mhm.
and going to the doctor. But there's also how do you feel? How is your energy? And I
Yeah.
thought, yeah, that's really important because that informs everything, our relationships, not just
Mhm,
our own selves, but our how we feel about others and our jobs and
mhm,
everything. Because if we don't feel good, we're probably not going to act well. And I
mm.
thought, oh, that's interesting. So I asked her even more about this, the gal at the collective, and she said, well, my friend is a Reiki master, and if you'd like to learn more about Reiki, I'll direct you to her. And that's how I got started.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that you made that connection between when we feel better, we also act better. I
Hmm.
think a lot of us maybe don't quite understand that or understand how that works or see like the correlation between that. Or, and even so, maybe we think like we tend to just like pressure ourselves or shame ourselves into acting better, and we don't realize that it's probably actually going to make it worse in the long term.
Hmm.
So question for you, if you were to give us like a Reiki 101, like Reiki for dummies, like what exactly to us like left brain, more so people, what exactly is it? How does it work and how do you help people through that?
Right. Well, Reiki means universal life force, your universal life force. So that's the energy around us. That's everything, really. That's what it means literally. And ki is synonymous with your chi, which is your energy. So that's
Mm-hmm,
where it's just Japanese. So it's a
mm-hmm,
Japanese healing practice. It's a Japanese art form that is holistic and a natural therapy for our energy system.
mm-hmm,
So what Reiki does, well, during the Reiki session, first of all, you're lying on a massage table. You could also be sitting in a chair. There's also chair Reiki as well. For, say, elderly people or folks who can't lie down for too long. And what you do is instead of massaging the body, it's
mm-hmm,
like a massage for your soul. A
mm-hmm,
client of mine called it your soul's massage. And so it's a way of, as you go through each energy center, and the
mm-hmm,
practitioner lays their hand upon the body, or it hovers above the body over
mm-hmm,
each energy center. And the Reiki is shared. So you're not really giving someone Reiki, you're sharing your energy with them, and they're sharing it with you. And to that
mm-hmm,
regard, then I can assess and feel what's happening with the client and help to bring their body into its natural balance. That's the ultimate goal because there's no such thing as a perfect balance, but there is a
mm-hmm,
natural balance for each individual. So my balance might look pretty chipper and high energy, and someone
mm-hmm,
else's balance might look pretty serene.
mm-hmm,
Someone else's balance might look fairly energetic,
mm-hmm,
but each one has their own natural balance, and Reiki seeks to bring you back to your natural balance so that You can feel well in the world. It also helps to heal minor injuries often.
Mhm.
It's great after if you have someone with who's going through, I would say, really difficult, challenging diseases after
Mhm.
cancer treatment and so on. It helps folks to feel a little bit more serene and calm. It
Mhm.
releases anxiety and stress.
Mm.
It's great for relationships. I do couples Reiki, which
Mhm.
is great. I just had a session last week where I helped a couple to bring themselves into each other's balance and
Mm.
find their way back to calm conversation, less
Mhm.
arguing, less
Mhm.
stress. It's
Mhm.
great for the individual. It's great for your headaches. It's excellent for stomach pangs, especially if you're going into a job interview or a difficult situation with someone. You want to feel calm and
Mhm.
relaxed. It's also good to give you some more energy, also. If you're
Mhm.
someone who never has a lot or doesn't or rarely has a lot of good energy, it helps to bring about the good energy because your natural balance is has some joy in it.
Mm.
So
Mhm.
that's also helpful. Often after a Reiki session, you might have some great dreams, interesting intuition, suddenly inspiration to do some writing. It's really
Mhm.
great in that way. It can charge up the body in a beautiful way,
Mhm.
creatively, I
Mhm.
would say. So Reiki is really about simply bringing your body into its natural balance.
That's beautiful. That's
Mm,
really beautiful. Thank you for explaining all that. I'm just thinking, I come from a therapist background where most therapists are trained to do a lot of like talk therapy, so like a lot of cognitive work, right? And the issue that I find with that is that you can only get to a certain point with that kind of work. Like at some point, you do need to access the body in some sort of way and the energy of the body or the emotions in the body. And
mhm,
for a few years, I was very skeptical of spirituality and Reiki and energy and all these sorts of things, mostly because I just didn't understand them. So I was like, okay, that's just my own limitation. Let me go understand them a little bit better and understand how it works. And now that I've done a lot more research and, spoken to a lot more people that are in these spaces, I can see now how if you put that together with like the more like cognitive stuff, you can really help someone make like an incredible transformation in their life. Because I think of, for example, like you and I both work with couples or, people in relationships. And, I think of like the women that come to work with me and, they had an argument with their partner and they, want to learn how to like create a better communication with their partner. They do need like tangible, practical communication skills. However, if your body is out of alignment or your energy is, I don't know what the right word is. You probably know them better than me, but it's just like not like out of balance, let's say, like completely like you're anxious or you're stressed or you're angry or you're feeling resentful or, fearful or whatever, all these things. Even if you have the tangible, practical communication skills, like you have the exact script of what to say, you still can't you're still not able to either say them or you say them, but there's like this like underlying like messy like tone stuff coming out, like energy coming out. And so still you're not fully able to create that like loving, harmonious communication that you want to create with your partner.
mhm. Yeah, and that's because we're not able to tap into the subconscious through simply speaking
Mm-hmm.
often. And Reiki and meditation, you're tapping into the subconscious because the subconscious is the gatekeeper. The subconscious is where if you don't if your subconscious does not believe something, then it's not true for you.
Yeah.
So if I and the subconscious is set by the time we're about 6 or 7 years old, usually. So that's why it's so important to raise our children well with
Mm.
love and care and support and that protective, free love, where they can have a beautiful subconscious filled with loving thoughts and
Mhm.
that they can achieve what they need to. When the subconscious doesn't believe something and you're trying to have talk therapy with this person, it
Hmm.
won't get through. And so that messiness that you speak of will continue to be there. And what
Yeah.
Reiki does is we start working in the subconscious because it's like a whole soul meditation,
Mm.
not just your 10-minute meditation because you
Sure.
sit still for half an hour
Yeah,
or you
yeah, of
don't have
course.
time.
Yeah.
Time is an issue. But if you
Mm.
can get a Reiki session, with me for an hour or anyone for
Hmm.
an hour, half an hour, you're really going to get into the subconscious. And then you couple that with the coaching that I do. And
Yeah.
then you can really
Yeah.
start shifting and transforming, creating that real transformation that people really want and need. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and I love that you do both because you're able to like help your clients integrate that subconscious work that they did. There's been times where I've done subconscious work, but then again, I'm like, okay, but how do I go implement this with the person, right? How do I go then create that relationship, have that conversation? I don't know. So I think what's really beautiful is that by being able to do both, like you can really give people like the full holistic support to then create the relationships that they want to create.
Yeah, it becomes
Yeah.
more uplifting.
Yeah.
And so even if in the moment during the session, you don't see the shift
Yeah.
will come because Reiki will work on you at long after you've left the table. So
Mm.
you want to also get a few Reiki sessions, one
Hmm.
after the other. Some clients get fearful when things come up. Say if they've been grieving the loss of a loved one and they've had a Reiki session with me,
Hmm.
they'll find that afterwards there's a lot of tears.
Hmm.
And um, and that feels uncomfortable. And
Hmm.
some folks don't like that uncomfortable feeling.
Hmm.
So then they don't want any more Reiki. But the thing is, things come up to be healed.
Yeah.
So it's actually okay. And you
Yeah.
can take your time. You don't have to rush back to the Reiki table. But but it's good to allow the grief to come up and out. It's sort
Mm-hmm.
of like going for a facial. You want
Hmm.
all those dead skin cells and pimples or what have you to all that gunk
Yeah.
to come up
Yeah.
and out. You don't want it to just sit there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
not doing you any good. So that's the whole
Mm.
deal. Things come up to be healed.
No,
Hmm.
it makes sense. It makes sense because I think we don't often realize in our mainstream society, I'll say, how a lot of the reasons why, right, like we work with a lot of people that are self-sabotaging themselves, let's say. They have a goal, they want to get to that goal, whatever that goal may be, and they don't fully understand, like, why can't I get to that goal? So, like we were chatting before, it's like a lot of us just kind of like pressure ourselves or shame ourselves into reaching that goal, but you're actually kind of making it worse on yourself. You're not like supporting and uplifting yourself to be able to get there. And so I think there's just a lack of understanding around like why aren't I able to get to where I need to get to and what is it that's happening that's blocking me from, for example, being able to tell someone that I love them. You know, maybe I'm in a relationship and I'm at that point where it's time where I have this urge to tell someone, but I'm terrified to tell them. And the fact that I'm not saying this to them is also like blocking us from creating a deeper and more intimate relationship. And I don't understand why I can't just say the freaking words, you know? And I think what's really I love the way you're explaining and articulating it because it's really helping people understand like it's not just about the words that you need to say. It's like your whole body and spirit and energy need to be in alignment. And sometimes getting in alignment means maybe bringing up past times in which you were vulnerable and you were rejected or you were abandoned or, any sort of like negative thing happened to help you kind of heal that. And then maybe in the moment you won't understand, okay, what did that Reiki session really do? You maybe won't grasp it intellectually, but then when you're in front of your partner and you want to say, I love you, the words come out and you're like, holy shit, I
Hmm.
did it. I
Hmm.
said I did the thing,
Yeah.
I was able to do it and overcome the fear.
And sometimes from your past, it really doesn't have anything to do with mom or dad issues. Sometimes I feel through the
Hmm.
Reiki session that you have digestive issues. Well, I'm at your third chakra, which
Mm.
is digestion, but it's also your personal power, that self-empowerment. And
Hmm.
it may have nothing to do with self-empowerment. You might have IBS, right?
Mm.
And I've picked up on that. And so you can't say I love you because you just don't feel well. Sometimes we
Mm.
just don't feel well physically, and so we can't act well. So it's not just
Yes.
about the emotional component or the mental
Hmm.
component or the past history from when we were 6 years old component. Sometimes we just need to go to the doctor and we just don't feel well and
Yeah.
so maybe it's coming out in our face and uh we need to things are happening and we're going why am I getting this bad skin or what's
Hmm.
happening to me and so that becomes a source of anxiety now you're
Hmm.
worried about your skin, you're worried about your IBS, you're worried about all these things and you can't be present to the love
Mm.
that's in front of you because you're in constant anxiety over something completely different. So it's really
Mm.
interesting all the different layers that Reiki can help release and help you heal.
Yeah. Yeah, as I'm listening to you, I'm grasping better the like you're at the intersection of the spiritual, the physical, and the emotional and the body.
Hmm. I
That's
like it.
incredible.
Hmm. Yes, it is an
Wow.
intersection.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm like, wow, you can detect that in someone. That's really cool.
Yes,
Because
it
I
has
think
happened.
I
Yeah.
tend to fault on, oh, it's all emotional. But it's like, what if you do have a physical symptom? I would not pick up on it. I'd be like, oh, maybe you just have a stomach ache because you're nervous. And it's like, no, maybe you have a genuine issue that you need to get
Yeah.
checked for.
Have you gone to the doctor?
Right?
And it just happened with a client. I said,
Mm,
have you gone to the doctor? Because I'm feeling a lot of third chakra. Do you have any digestive issues?
mhm,
Actually, I do, and I need to go to the doctor, and I have been putting it off because she was having
mm,
some emotional issues which is why she called me for the
mhm,
emotional stuff. But
mhm.
the digestive issues were actually what was really preventing her
Yeah.
from moving forward with the emotional.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny?
Gosh. I
It's so
mean,
complicated.
this is, I have to tell you, like, like I said, I used to be skeptical. Now I'm not. I've embraced the spiritual, everything, higher power, all the things. I've embraced them all. And the timing of our conversation, I have to tell you, is also like me learning this right now with you in my own personal life is like divine timing, to be honest with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. So if I can just share for a second, I have been struggling with chronic pain for many years. I didn't know it was chronic pain. I thought I just didn't work out enough. I just didn't try hard enough. I just didn't stretch enough or blah, 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 right? Like it was always about me not doing enough. And so I just recently was able to find a physiotherapist who's an expert in chronic pain. And he was explaining to me that, and yeah, so he was explaining to me like, listen, structurally, you are okay. There is nothing wrong with your body. There's nothing you need to change. Structurally, you're great. So I understood that that was like a very, terminology that they use. He's like, however, the pain that you feel is real. It's valid. And that was the first time that a professional in the physiotherapy space or what traditional medical space had confirmed to me what I was feeling. Every
Mhm.
other physiotherapist that I had seen was like, you need to do these exercises and you need to do more of this and more of that. And then if I couldn't do it, they're like, oh, well, that's just like on you. You need to do it. And, things like that. Or like they didn't, or I'd be like, I have all this shoulder pain. And they're like, your shoulder is fine. And I'm like, well, like what the hell is like going on with my body? Like what
Yeah,
is
help
happening?
me.
Someone help me figure this out because I wake up in pain every single day. So fine. And I've been through some challenging experiences in my life and I've worked through a lot of them. And now I'm at the point where we're working on the body, we're working on the energy. There's stuff that got stored in the body and somehow needs to be released. And so we are learning how to release it and how to, let go of that. Because it does, like we said, we have those goals and then we can't get to them because this stuff kind of like interferes in a sense. So
Yes.
it's like, okay, let's bring it up, let's help it release and help it process. And through my own personal journey of understanding the pain in my body and understanding what happened to me, how it impacted me, and how it's still impacting me, what I've come to understand is that a lot of medical professionals and a lot of like therapists don't quite understand a lot of this body stuff. They don't
Mhm.
understand a lot of this energy stuff. They don't understand truly like how to release trauma. Like a lot of people just aren't even certified in it. And a lot of doctors don't even know about it. They're like, you're fine, go home. It's all in your head, like sort of thing. And it's not, it's real. It's very real. So the reason I say this is because it's just truly incredible to hear that there is a an art, there is a form of what you do that allows you to actually perceive all these different facets in one person and perceive the way in which it might be um, impacting them in a sense. And to be at the center of that intersection of all those different things, because there are, from my experience, and I'm someone that reads up on this a lot, so I consider myself to be someone that has a sense of what's going on out there in terms of where we're at with understanding the relationship between mind, body, and soul, is that many people don't fully quite understand that relationship. We don't get how it works and how it's impacting each and every other part of our life. So anyway, just to say that I think it's really cool that you're able to be at this intersection and be able to help your clients with this and also be like, sweetie, maybe you just need to go to the doctor because
Yeah.
maybe that's what's going on.
Maybe that's it. Maybe we
Yeah,
start there. Yeah. It's a
yeah,
full soul wellness. I'm really glad that you're
yeah,
getting care, the proper
yeah,
care now, because that's
yeah,
really what it's about, the proper care for our whole soul wellness, our
right,
whole self.
right,
I remember having a
exactly.
client that a really athletic gal, I sound so old-fashioned, really athletic, and she was a rock climber,
Mhm.
and she fell rock climbing, injured her shoulder.
Mm,
And I felt really badly for her. She went to the chiropractor, she went to the doctor,
mhm,
she did everything, the massage therapist, and
mhm,
everything was going pretty well,
mhm,
except for this one twinge that was left
mm,
that was just aching her, this one twinge that was left in her shoulder. And she came to me and she said, Daydree, I'm wondering if you can help me with this. And I said, we can give it a try. And
mhm,
I asked her to tell me about the experience, first of all. So we did a little coaching when she
mhm,
fell, and then we went right into the Reiki. Once we were done with the Reiki, she, it must have been the next day, she called me because we weren't texting back then yet.
mhm,
She
mhm.
called me and she said, oh my gosh, I the pain is gone. I cannot believe that. That is
Wow.
unbelievable. And I said, well, basically, based upon what you were telling me, there
Mhm.
was a lot of stress, anxiety, and fear
Yeah,
occurred as you realized you were letting go of the rock and you were going.
yeah,
There's that point, you're feeling safe, you're feeling supported, you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden your grip is loosened and you realize you're about to fall. That fear
mhm.
is
Got
there.
stuck.
Mhm.
Mm,
And so we used a lot of work. We used a lot of Reiki in that area,
mhm.
and she was fine after. It never came back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So sometimes we're carrying fear trapped in
Mhm,
our bodies,
mhm.
anxiety, stress,
Yeah,
and things that happened when we were kids, and so
sure,
on and so forth, mommy, daddy issues. But
sure,
sometimes, as we said, it's just some IBS
sure,
or
sure, sure.
whatever.
No, that's
But,
beautiful. Yeah.
but
So
fear
what?
is real, and
Yeah,
fear can keep us stuck
stuck.
a
Yeah,
very long time. Fear is powerful, just as
yeah,
powerful as love. And my
yeah,
idea is to let's love rule. Let's make love rule
yeah,
this moment
yeah.
and use Reiki. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have so much more to say on this topic, but there was also a topic I really wanted to get to today. So I'm gonna force myself to switch gears if we can do
Okay.
that. So speaking of love, one of the conversations we had when we were getting to know each other was about the work that you do with single people. I forget if it was
Mm,
specifically single women or just people in general. But
Angela.
I was really curious about when you talk about becoming a love magnet, what
Mhm.
exactly does that mean?
It means that we can naturally start attracting what we want. And there's several layers to that. It's not just, here's your Reiki, now you're going to attract everything. It's not really like that.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot more to it than that. I would say there's several stages when people work with me during the Good Love program. So the Good Love program is a program, 8 session program that I created where we begin with your why, which is your
Mm-hmm.
personal life's personal mission statement, what
Mm-hmm.
makes Francesca Francesca and fabulous. And
Mm-hmm.
we decide upon that together. You create your D2 list, which is your desires and your deal breakers, things like that.
Mm.
But then we also have Reiki. And if you're remote, we do guided meditations, because of course I'm trained in that. And we basically start to uncover a lot of your opposite sex parent issues
Mm-hmm.
and same-sex parent issues. We delve into what your subconscious beliefs are. So we go into a lot of things, your past
Mm-hmm.
relationships, and we start to uncover your toxic ties. What are the things that you can't seem to let go of?
Yeah.
Say, 15-year relationship, the guy that keeps, or the gal that keeps pulling you back in,
Mm-hmm.
that person. I had one of those before I met my husband. That was actually the reason why I started becoming a love coach. I was sitting around with 3 friends out to dinner. I'll never forget this. And I was telling them how I met my husband and how I was in this on and off 15-year relationship. And they said, that's a business model. What you're doing right now, that's your business. I remember it was my friend who's a lawyer who said it, of course, the lawyer. And I realize that when people look at all the aspects of themselves, because it's not just creating a list, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not just saying willing it, and it's not just practicing the secret and
Mm-hmm.
attracting it naturally, simply.
Yeah.
There are many components that go into becoming a love magnet. But once we start uncovering our toxic ties and figuring out what we really want and because we've never really said what are deal breakers for us and those kinds of things. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we're just walking around looking around, as a friend of mine used to say,
Mm-hmm.
we're just going, I just want to meet a guy who's really nice. What was that phrase, 6'2", and there was a
Oh,
talk that went around for a
6'5"
while.
blue eyes, but a boy with
Yeah.
a trust fund and finance, 6'5" blue eyes. Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just about these, 3 or 5 things that you
Yeah.
believe that you need, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also, but who are you really? And what is it that you really need? What are the nuances? There's much more nuance to attracting your life partner than just 6'5", blue eyes, trust fund, you know.
Yeah.
And so we uncover all of that so that you then naturally start attracting what you want. And we write a lot of things down because when
Mm-hmm.
we write things down, people forget there's a reason why there's a death certificate, you write it down. There's a marriage certificate, there's a birth certificate. We sign and create contracts when we get a house and so on, because when we write things, we start to make it real. We start to bring it into being. When we
Mm-hmm.
start to speak it, where when we think it, we speak it, we write it, we're creating and putting things, we're creating the manifestation process. And then we start
Mm-hmm.
naturally attracting. That's why I like to get away from the negative talk. Well, I definitely don't want to meet a guy who's like fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to create? What
Yeah.
what is an optimum situation for you in love relationships? What the
Yeah.
positive. And it's not about being positive, it's about saying things in the positive because the universe is always listening. So when you're saying it, it's you're creating it. I'll give you a
Mhm.
perfect example.
Mhm.
A long time ago, there was a great Italian restaurant down the street from us. My husband and I always went to it every Friday night. That was our date night. It was fun, great lasagna, great wine. Oh, I could eat it right now just thinking about it. I'm thinking, oh gosh, okay, can we stop and eat real quick? But anyway, so we're waiting to be seated. And the way it worked at this particular restaurant is that the actual server came over and led you to the table, which was in her section or his section. And in this particular instance, there was this one gal there who was not quite our energy. I'll just say that.
Mhm.
And I said, while waiting on this long line to get seated on this very interesting Friday night, I kept saying, whatever it is, honey, I don't want to sit in blah, blah, blah section. I just don't want to. I just don't want to sit in her blah, blah, blah section. I don't want it. Now I'm speaking in the
Mhm.
negative,
Mhm.
but I'm still speaking the person and being seated in her section. So I'm
Yeah.
actually bringing that into being. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter that I'm saying that I don't want it. I'm
Mhm.
saying this woman and her section over and over again. And don't you know that woman walked right over to,
Of course. Of
hi,
course.
two, good to see you again, and sat us down. And I thought, well, Daydree, you deserve that
Yeah.
because you should say what
Yeah.
you want to say is,
Yeah.
I would love to be in Francesca's section
Right.
to sit with Francesca. And then
Right.
I'm going to get Francesca's section. So we
Yeah.
always write in the positive of what we want, not what we don't want, because we're manifesting that.
Yeah. 100%. Um, your program sounds like the 8 years, the 6 years that I spent in therapy figuring out my love languages, my relationship with both my parents, how that was impacting my current, because I've been with my partner for like 12 years now. So there was a point there where I had already broken up with him. We had already gotten back together. And I was like, I can't do this whole breakup, get back together. I can't be one of those people. I need to figure out what's going on. I was starting
Mm.
doing therapy for myself. And the therapist goes, okay, write down the most stressful things in your life right now. Number one, my boyfriend. She's like, let's tackle that. I'm like, okay. Anyway, so we ended up doing many years of therapy, and it was on that. It was on what's your why? What do you want? Let's figure out your I didn't do it as spelled out as you did. I'm like, I would have loved to do your program. Like, just have someone really like also give me like a frame for like what are the steps to get to where I need to get to. Where I think therapy sometimes like if you don't have an idea, there's no frame sometimes of like, this is you want this, I can help you get here. This is the steps that you need to take. It's a little bit more just like, what's going on today, and
Mm.
what's going on today. Yeah, it might take me some time to figure out all that you,
Yeah.
spelled out for people, but that sounds like an incredible program. If I could go back in time, I would have signed up for that. But that's a lot of the things that I had to work on was like, what are my communication patterns? What are my interpersonal skills? What am I bringing to the relationship? Like, who am I and what do I want and what don't I want? And I'm curious, in your experience, what do you find is challenge? What stops people from just being very clear and just saying, this is what I would like. I would like to sit in this section of the restaurant.
It's modeling sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you grew up in a household where folks spoke the negative often. I definitely don't
Mm,
want that. Don't do that. We'll never get that. That kind of thing, modeling
mm-hmm.
does stick in the subconscious. So that's a little more challenging to release. But of course, through
Mm-hmm.
Reiki and talk therapy and
Mm-hmm.
guided meditations, I've been successful with that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, fear. And sometimes folks just have no clue what they want. That
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes we feel off, but we don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Something's not working, but I don't know what it is. And that's real. And that's
Yeah.
okay. but through asking some specific questions, we can get there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll ask about, well, what are the problems that you're finding in your relationship? Because sometimes they come to me and they don't know what's off,
Mm-hmm.
but they know something is. So
Mm-hmm.
they're arguing with their, and what does that look like? Well, it looks like I argue a lot with my boyfriend, or it looks
Mm-hmm.
like I get reprimanded by my so and so, or
Yeah.
I don't do well at work. I
Mm-hmm.
don't have a lot of energy for
Mm-hmm.
my job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, who are the people at your job? Do you get positive reinforcement when you're
Right.
working?
Right.
Um, how is the management?
Mm-hmm.
Are you on time? Are you tired? I'd help
Mm-hmm.
people with sleep meditations. Lots of folks have trouble sleeping. And
Yeah.
sometimes it has nothing to do with stress and anxiety. Sometimes it's just that they have a cup of coffee late in the afternoon and that caffeine stays with them.
Yeah.
Or tea. Green
Yeah.
tea is very strong. A lot of folks don't know that. It's sometimes
Mm-hmm.
stronger than coffee for some, depending on your system. Everyone has a different kind of energy system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for
Interesting.
me, some folks love kombucha. If I have kombucha, I will be awake for 40 days and 40 nights. I will never sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kombucha for me is very strong. Some folks, it's nothing. And so it's discovering those kinds of things. When that's the place when people, that's the real work, when people have no idea why they're feeling off, but they know that they are. And that
Mm-hmm.
can lead to depression. So we want to avoid that at
Mm-hmm.
all costs and
Yeah.
help people find their inner joy.
Yeah.
Mhm. But
Yeah.
first, we have to figure out what's wrong. Is it that you're
Totally.
not sleeping? Oh, you're looking at your device
Mm-hmm.
right before bed. Now, unless it's a device that's a meditative sleep
Yeah.
app that you're looking
Yeah.
at,
Yeah.
and if you're just scrolling through social, that might not be the best thing to do because now you're thinking about and feeling about what you just saw and processing that. Well, that's
Mm-hmm.
not what you're supposed to do before sleep.
Mm-hmm.
A nice warm bath, some lavender oils and
Sure.
some lovely, if you're going to have tea, maybe some turmeric tea,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing, but that might wake you up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I can't drink tea after 5 p.m. I'm done with tea because now we're going to go to the bathroom a lot.
I relate to so much of what you just said, but I think again, like just I didn't even expect, I had a completely different expectation of how this conversation was going to go, but this was so beautiful. Because I had no, again, like back to the holistic, like I had no idea how holistic this type of work is and taking all those things into consideration, you know. All of those things are a factor in how someone's going to show up in their day and how they're going to show up in their relationships and what kind of relationships they're going to be able to cultivate versus what relationships they're not going to be able to cultivate.
Yeah, because if you're sleep deprived, you're not going to be a lot of fun,
No,
probably.
no.
Or you're going to be that buzzy fun, those people
Mm,
sometimes who are just you're running on empty. So they have that
sure.
buzzy energy.
Yeah.
It's not really their authentic selves. They're not sitting in their natural balance. So sleep is really lack of sleep can really mess a person up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You really want to get some
Yeah.
sleep. Even if even if you have a job where you have to wake up at 4 in the morning because you're on television,
Hmm.
and I get that, well, then try to catch up on the weekends and
Hmm.
really take it easy and try to really, really have a nice mellow time and read a book and sit outside and listen to the birds and just
Yeah.
listen to your own thoughts and relax and go on
Right.
slow walks and yeah, then really
Right.
a lot of mindfulness too, because that can help really release anxiety. Just simple mindfulness, washing the dishes
Hmm.
slowly and feeling that warm water on your hands and the soap. And how does it feel? And do you feel moisturized while you're washing the dishes? And just really get into it.
You know what I love? I love that
Great.
so much of the work that you do, I could picture someone coming to you being like, Daydree, I've been single for 7 years. I'm 34. I want to find the love of my life. And you're like, okay, I can help you do that. And then they're like, okay, what do I need to do? Who's the man that I need to find? Like, what are the steps that I need to take? And you're like, why don't we just focus on you for a second, Why don't we
Exactly.
help you become a love magnet, aka like get
Mhm.
inside and clean up what needs to be cleaned up, detox all the and I'm
Mhm.
thinking physically, but also emotionally. Like I think sometimes I see people, especially like I live in Toronto, a big city like Toronto, we have so many options. And I see some people being like, not good enough, swipe, not good enough. Oh, this guy did this one bad thing. This guy did this one bad thing. And it's like, okay, sure, valid. Maybe none of these were the love of your life, whatever. But it's also like, are you looking at yourself? Like, what are you bringing to the table? Who are you attracting? Like, you know, you become the person that you want to be with so that you find the person who also wants to be with you rather than just like I don't know if I expressed myself clearly, but it's like rather than just like looking around and like criticizing like all your options, like turn that
Right.
energy inwards of like do some like cleansing of all of your energy and everything. And you'll see, trust me, that person will not, it's not magic, but the coincidences start happening. You talk to a friend who has a friend who just broke up and he's been working on himself for a few months, like, and now you're like, oh, okay, let's go on this date. And then before you know it, it's like, oh my God, this guy is like exactly what you were looking for, you know?
Yeah. And also not just cleaning up your energy, but finding out
Mhm.
what turns you on, because we are talking about dating
Oh,
and sexuality and sensuality.
oh.
So also, what's turning you on? Reiki is really wonderful for accessing your more of your sensuality, your orgasms, your own intimacy.
Oh
So a
my
lot of
gosh.
women that I speak,
We're
you're
gonna have to
gonna
do
love
a
this.
part two. I'm like, you just opened up a whole new world.
Yeah, that's the next installment.
That's the No, that's
Yeah,
so
because
true.
that's important too. Sometimes I speak to ladies women that are not, because men are usually know what turns them on.
Yeah, yeah,
Got it.
yeah,
I'm good,
yeah.
But
Yes, yes,
sometimes
yes.
women are waiting to be led
Yes,
to the bedroom. Lead
yes,
me, teach me.
yes.
And I think it's important, just like how you need to clean your house first to be a love magnet, you also
Mhm,
need to know what turns you on
mhm,
before you are wanting to be turned on.
mhm,
Because sometimes women get stuck in relationships where they're in these sexual, sensual, because they're different things,
yeah.
relationships that aren't fulfilling. And it's simply not fulfilling because you never knew what you wanted to begin with. You
Mhm,
were waiting to be led.
mhm,
So if you start to decide, you get into, and that's a part of the Good Love program, is that's
mhm.
an option, is the sensuality session. Now, there are some women that I meet. There's a gal that I'm talking to right now. She needs no help in the sensuality department. And I think, good for
Yeah,
you. We won't do
yeah,
that. We'll do a guided meditation because she's in
sure.
Toronto, funnily enough.
Oh.
She's over there in TO. I love Toronto, as you know. My husband's from Toronto. Big ups. And but the thing about it is I get into that because I think it's vital, because many of us get to a certain age, well into 40s and 50s, and still haven't explored what we actually think is sexual turn on and
Mhm,
sensually being turned on for ourselves.
mhm.
We haven't explored that ourselves. So I go
Yeah,
into that also.
that's beautiful. I love it. And like anything else, is just taking like an active role in your life, taking an active role in your sexuality. It's not to say that, I think it's, gosh, I have a lot of thoughts about this specifically, actually. So I'm like, we're gonna have to do a part two of this. Um, but I do agree with you. It's just, taking, I heard this once, it was like taking responsibility for your orgasm in the sense
Yes.
of like, you don't have to necessarily make it happen, but you need to know what's gonna get you there and inform your partner and let them know what you like and what you don't like. And I I mean,
There's a way to tell someone what you,
there's a way to tell
you can't go,
someone.
no, over here.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
of
not really
course.
the way.
No, it needs to be done in like a gentle, sexy, maybe even playful, sort of way.
And maybe no words. Maybe
That
there's just
too.
guidance. Hmm.
That too. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me not keep you any longer, but I so appreciate your time. I think I'm definitely gonna have to have you on for a part two because there's
Okay.
so much we didn't get into, especially when it comes to like the love and relationships part,
Hmm.
that I would love to hear your perspective on. So we're definitely gonna organize that for another day. But with that being said, thank you so much for being here. This was super, super informative, and I think I hope that it's informative to the people listening right now. This again, like this isn't even something I expected to talk about, but I'm like, I'm gonna now tell people like you need to go do Reiki. Like everyone needs to go do Reiki. And if
Yes,
you
yes.
can, call Daydree. And if you can't, find someone that you can do Reiki with that you trust and obviously is certified and has all the things. But this was really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, so welcome. And thank you. It was an honor
Mm.
to be with you again. Yeah,
Oh,
wonderful.
thank you. Where can people find you? Where should they look you up?
At yeah, daydreehorner.com or myoshun.com, MYOSHUN dot
Beautiful.
com.
And definitely check out that Good Love program because I'm
Yeah.
like, I could have used that back in the
Yeah, and
day.
also Good Love Coach on Instagram. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I
Mhm.
do really enjoy your reels. They're very informative.
Oh, good. Thanks. And
Well,
Facebook as well. Yeah,
and
too.
Facebook as well. She's everywhere, and everything's going to be in the show notes so people can just easily click and go
Oh,
find
good.
you. Again, thank you so much for being here. And to those of you listening, thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, feel free to do all the things like, subscribe, follow wherever you're listening, and stay tuned for more incredible get interviews with guests like Daydree. Thank you.
Thank you.